Hello, everyone. Today, Dr. Kate Workman's with me again from Denali Equine Rexos Research Center. We we were actually going to do a podcast on kissing spine surgery. Should you or should you not? It's all right here, and I'm just
Yeah, I
putting
got
it.
mine too. I put a big
Yeah, here it is. Like, okay, we're throwing that away. Sorry, people, but this is my life most of the time. Kate's life, we just kind of ad lib. This podcast is about a new mindset, changing, and I think it does come down to that many times as people get so ingrained in the way they believe something or the way they've been trained. And it's you have to be able to look at all aspects of a problem. And I think I just did the girthiness seminar last month, just recently with a bunch of veterinarians here at my clinic in Ocala, Florida. And Kate was there. She was one of the instructors. And it was that, right, Kate? It was a change of mindset that empowered people, not only just to be able to go, oh my God, I can do this. But it was also the fact that I'm like, here's the knowledge. You've had it there all along. You didn't know what to do with it. And you absolutely can do everything that I'm showing you. And we did, right? Like we empowered all these people to be able to go home the very next day and practice exactly what they learned, how to do the techniques, and how to help their patient population wherever they were in the country and in Canada too.
Yeah.
And I think to me, that's the biggest thing. They had this mindset of, I'm going to go to the CE thing and I'm going to get educated, which is like going to AEP. Like what practical things do you learn from that, right? Like to me, I don't learn pretty much anything
None.
unless I go to ophthalmology or internal medicine or something like that. Then I finally learn something that, I don't practice that, but it enables me as a sports horse veterinarian. But these people went away with how to treat girthiness, how to understand the biomechanics of what's causing girthiness and everything involved with it, how to actually inject these issues, like how to do treatment options, rehabilitation protocols, doing the shockwave protocols with many of these horses, and saddle fit, like have a basic understanding of equipment and what's causing the lameness. And everybody, right, Kate? It was like such a quaint, great group of people. And now we're just like this family of people that are like here, 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 like helping each other. And that's the goal,
Yeah,
isn't it?
it is. And it was so fun because it, for those listeners listening that are frustrated that you don't feel like you can find anybody, you can't get near Audrey or I, or you're in a different country or wherever, there are veterinarians that are like, wait a second, I don't want to do the status quo anymore. I'm sick and tired of not making differences. I'm sick and tired of not having answers. I'm sick and tired of the elites essentially making sure I think I can't do this. We did the ultrasound wet lab on necks. Well, ultrasounding a neck is very simple. It's not actually that hard.
Yeah.
Injecting things is a bit harder, but ultrasounding is not that hard, especially if you have some degree of skill. And we were just showing people, boom, 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 boom. This is how you can ultrasound. Then you can practice needle placement and guide so you can inject necks. And one of the vets turned to me and she was like, I've always wanted to do this. I was always convinced there's no way, it must be really hard. I've gone to a million conferences. I've taken wet labs on how to ultrasound it, and it sort of makes sense there. And then I go home and none of it makes any sense. And she turned to me and she was like, I could do this next week. I said,
Yes.
you absolutely can do this next week. And it was so uplifting to have people just hungry to not do things the same old way and not making a difference and not knowing how to help these horses, and from all walks of veterinarians, some with clientele that could afford kind of the higher end stuff,
Yeah.
some that can't and aren't going to be able to, but they at least have some tools to help their horses and make this realm of body lameness and solving body lameness way more accessible to the average veterinarian. And we had fun and we had food and drink, and it was just a great time.
Yeah, there was plenty
Um,
of food and, and
yeah,
good
but I
food and
think it is, it's
collaboration.
finally a moment to go, no, you don't get to talk down to me like that anymore. I'm also a veterinarian and a doctor. And just because I don't work in a university or just because I'm not in this elite group, circle, clique, doesn't mean I can't actually fix these big problems. And I think that is going to be a game changer in our industry because it's going to rock a lot of boats. It's going to offend some egos, but it was so rewarding to show the average solo practitioner out there just trying to make their patient population better and being like, you can get
Right.
shoulders more
I mean,
symmetrical. Like we can do this.
so there's one of the veterinarians, Brandy Ashman, and you guys, you have to understand, I'm going to give you the list of veterinarians, all the veterinarians that were there at the first seminar, so that if they are in your area, you can go to them. Because this is my goal, is to educate more veterinarians and give them the practical skills to be able to do what I do for a living and to solve these problems. And I think that's the biggest thing. Brandy, who she's worked with Kate too after she met me in that. So she sent, and
Yeah.
you can't really see this, but this horse is
Yeah,
a
it's on her
roping horse.
Facebook page. She's Hoofbeats Equine. She's in
Yep,
Virginia somewhere.
in Virginia.
But it's on her Facebook. Yeah.
So this is what she wrote to me. She said, "Well, I'll be darned." And Brandy's got a southern accent. Dr. Ashman's got it. She goes, "This is a rope horse I was speaking about at the meeting. I injected his plexus, acupuncture points behind scapulas in early August. I start shockwave immediately following, and look at the difference. He was crippled, and now he's back in the game thanks to all your discoveries. I would never have been able to help this horse if it wasn't for your knowledge. Thank you." People like this have reached to me, the veterinarians that have been out in the seminar, they've reached out to me and said, we are doing this stuff and making a difference in their patient population. And I think changing their mindset, not only the fact that they can do this and understand it, but actually explain it to their clients and say, okay, we can do this, this, and this, and change your equipment and do this treatment, and you're back in the game. And also, if the horse needs rehabilitation, then to be able to do the rehabilitation. Kate and I's goal is not only to do research on this stuff, but also to train other veterinarians and empower them to be able to go out there in the world and help you as a client, help you as a trainer, just make the horse industry better. But it's changing, like Kate was saying about the academic world and other big practices is, people want to hold you in your place. And the fact that we only have DVM behind our name, and I've said it before, people, it's not the biggest thing is they're going to say, where's the research on this, right? And I'm going to say, my research is in my patient population and my happy clients and my long-standing clients out throughout my whole entire career. And also the fact that these veterinarians could learn it this quickly over a 2-day seminar and go home and help more horses. And right, Kate, and it goes back to the same thing, how we approach lameness, which is what got us changing this podcast, because everybody wants to look at one thing to cause lameness. And if you have a chip in an ankle, or if you have, whatever it is, some small lesion, OCD lesion, yes, that's going to cause lameness. But when you're dealing with actually axial skeleton lameness, and in my brain, there's 4 lamenesses. There's limb lameness, there's body lameness, there's compensation lameness, compensatory lameness, and then there's positional lameness. And so we have these 4 types of lameness, which encompasses the whole horse. And how can it just be one limb?
Yeah,
Right?
my medical notes, right? Like at the end, it has limb lameness, positional lameness, body lameness. I haven't put compensatory, but I should. And it has that, right? So it has stifle pain, limb lameness. It has hock pain, limb lameness. It has iliopsoas dysfunction, body lameness. It has shoulder girdle with emphasis, left side, low neck, right? Whatever. And that's how we need to be, because even if they have an overt lameness, they also have a body lameness. They have a compensatory pattern. And when we're dealing with a performance horse, we need to address all of them. It got us spiraled because Dr. Ann Wimmer stopped by, who had worked for me and isn't on life of absence, but is amazing. And she was like, when I came here last time, she had her niece with her who knows nothing about horses, is 18-year-old, came and watched a case of mine that it has been a kind of complicated and tricky. He's got multiple layers of lameness. So you make one better, then you got to peel the next and whatever. And they were standing out there watching, and Ann turned to her niece and goes, okay, well, what do you think? And she goes, well, the left hind isn't reaching up as much as the right hind, but he has different shoe. And do you think the shoe weight changes? Right? She went down this whole rattle, and Em was like, that's the point. She knows not one thing about horses, but changing her brain thinks, right? Maybe like an engineer brain, or Ellen talks about that with her husband, is that if we didn't have this bias that they have entrenched in you from vet school of which limb is lame and is it a 0 to a 5 on AEP scale, you could actually take a step back and go, okay, well, the left hind is lamer, but the right hind does not have a normal flight pattern and he's really offloading the right front. And if you could go through the whole scheme, but we as veterinarians from day one of vet school or even prior have been indoctrinated to left hind lameness, right front lameness, it swaps, it does this. And I think it's time we all take a step back and go, but what is working, what is not working, what is loading more, what is not loading more, and what could that mean? And it is, I think it's about changing the mindset, because when you ask a different question, you're going to get a different answer, right? You can only get the answer that's the question that you ask. If you ask me which limb is lame, left hind. If you ask me what is wrong or what is dysfunctional, that list is way longer. And so that was a large part of it. My second son is Colt, who is mighty, is learning how to spell, right? And I'm horrible at spelling. And he's not been that great either. So he has words, regular spelling words, then he has red words he has to memorize. And then there's this thing called nonsense words, which are made up words that are phonetically trying to teach them certain patterns and things like that. So I'm sitting studying with him. And we do his words and we do his red words. And then he gets I said, buddy, we got to do your nonsense words. He goes, I don't understand that. I said, what do you mean? He goes, why should I have to learn how to spell words that are made up? I said, well, because they're supposed to be teaching you the phonics of it. So you're not just memorizing words, you're actually learning how to read the word. And he goes, but I have to learn red words that don't follow the phonics and I have to memorize them. So you've made up these words and I now have to follow the phonics to spell a made up word. Like, this is stupid and a waste of time is what he says to me. And I start laughing because I'm like, you're not wrong.
It is, right?
And I'm sitting there and I'm going, but what if we did that with veterinary medicine? You all learn the basics, but what if we stopped going, does it have kissing spines? Let's work on the kissing spine. What if we asked a different question and said,
what caused it?
What caused it? What is dysfunctional? What else is hiding that we can't see? And stop just going, well, they're forcing me to learn nonsense words, so I just got to memorize the nonsense words. And it's time we do that. It's time we go, no, this doesn't make sense.
Right, Kate.
I don't have to have a degree in the world. You don't have to have a veterinary degree to look at a back surgery, because we're going to talk about kissing spines today, and go, no, that doesn't make sense. Sorry.
Right. Well, I think it goes back to the same thing. It's people as a lineman, as a journeyman lineman, and I brought this up at the seminar, right? We as linemen, we troubleshoot. And that troubleshooting means that a troubleshooter has to understand the electrical system. But then you have to actually, if you understand the system, then you can solve the problem and you can find a solution to that problem to get people's electricity back on, right? Without getting killed, without all these things. The problem with, I find, the veterinary profession is exactly what you were saying, is they are being taught this scale, which is kind of insane to me that it excludes everything in the rest of the body besides the limbs, and they're not taking into consideration the biomechanics. You know me, I am a mechanically minded, like if it's not logical, it doesn't compute in my brain. And
Mhm.
when people are not taught how a horse actually works, which, when I do that, remember, Kate, when I showed you that the first time, you were like, holy cow, that makes sense. Like when I
So
teach,
easy.
it's so easy, right?
So easy.
How it's so easy to understand how a horse actually works and how to diagnose the problems. To me, that's the easiest thing, is diagnosing where the problems are. Now, fixing those problems and saying, okay, you've got this lesion here. Is it really a primary thing? Has it affected your performance? You got this fragment on their neck or whatever. Does it bother the horse? Probably not. I've got fragments in my body where bones have broken off too. They don't bother me in performance. They don't bother me now as a, almost 60-year-old person. It's there. But it's the fact that you're never going to find a solution to any problem if you don't understand the system that you're doing. It's like having a plumber come out to fix your toilet and he doesn't even understand how the toilet works. I think part of this is asking the right questions, but also teaching people how to troubleshoot the system that you're working on. And I find most veterinarians don't even understand the system. And that includes looking at the whole horse, like internal
Yeah.
medicine, everything else, because it isn't just one thing. I think I have never, I mean, very rarely do I think it's just one thing. We inject this one thing, the horse is better. They may feel better, they may push better, but they also have a pattern of compensatory lameness that's set up. Even you and I do a lot of 2 and 3 year olds. I do a lot of young horses, and I see so many horses that you just need to help them a little bit and then they're fine. But I see so many that are so injured at a young age that I'm
And that are
like, oh,
sound. That's the
yeah,
thing, is like we as veterinary medicine have lost, and this is why trainers and owners and those vets listening, speak up. Stop just accepting this. They can be sound and incredibly dysfunctional and painful.
absolutely.
And so now what do? You can't block it out. Where are you going to do a bone scan? You may or may not find
Yep.
anything. Okay, we took back film, so it has kissing spines. Let's cut those. Prove to me that's the problem. That's always my answer. Prove to me that those touchings are the problem and that I don't have other pathology that's painful, because they all do. Prove it to me. And I think owners and traders need to be willing to say that and push and go, why do you think that's a problem? Explain it to me. But like it, because we have to start asking questions differently to get different results. If you ask the same question, you're going to get the same results.
Yep. And it goes back to the movement of the horse, right? I see a lot of sound horses in my practice. I see a lot of sound horses, but when you ride the horses, right, you can watch them go on a lunge line. They look magnificent. But when you get on them or when you drive them, they start dog tracking, they start throwing their neck to one side, you're constantly hanging on the left rein, all these things. That's lameness. Like, that's the thing, is it's changing the mindset of everybody listening, that if your horse is like that, hollow and bulged, it is lame. That is lameness. Even though you can go have your veterinarian say that it's not lame, but to me, if somebody tells me that their horse is dog tracking, or their haunches are to the right, or you're constantly hanging on the left rein because their neck is and their head's tipped to the right, that's lameness. And
And
it
your horse
is,
could be winning and doing all of those things
oh, right. Most
all
of
the time.
them are. Most of them
Yeah.
are.
Or,
See, that's
yeah.
a thing.
But
Most of them can go out there.
if you keep laughing that it's never the shoulder, it's always the foot, you're never actually going to fix these problems.
Never, never.
Brandy's picture of one scapula this big and the other one here, it's not the foot.
No,
It's not the foot. And if your veterinarian laughs at you about that, or doesn't trust you or dismisses you, it's there are veterinarians willing to go, shoulder should not look like that. That's not okay. Like it, you have to be willing to open and expand your minds for us to be able to get on the other side to really make advancements.
Yeah.
Research is about growing and expanding and understanding, but everything we're researching now is trying to figure out why what we're doing works.
Yeah. Right. Why is
I
it
know we treat Shivers horses. I know they get better without a shadow of a doubt. I have videos and films. They get better. We got mocked the other day on the Shivers page. You should go read it again
Oh, you know
about
me
how
with
we're
that stuff.
discrediting Valberg and, we're ridiculous. And we claimed we were doing research, but it's not out. Heads up, it takes years to do research. You cannot convince me the Shivers treatment doesn't work because I do it and I see it and my clients see it. So now what we're trying to do is figure out, okay, what pathology could we refine treatment? Could we figure out what works better or not? Like now's the time to go back and research. Clinically, it is proven fact to me. You will not debate me otherwise.
Right.
It
And
is a proven fact. I can make them better, if not resolve them. I at least make them significantly more comfortable. They're happier. They gain weight. They perform better. They're sounder. All of these things happen.
And it goes back to the same thing. You and I've treated hundreds and I mean, I'm probably up over 1,000 cases treated. If I crunch the numbers, on my spreadsheets. And the fact that everybody is basing a hypothesis on 5 horses. And even like last week, remember we were going to go to that CE that we couldn't get into?
Oh, yeah.
That was supposed to talk about Shivers, and they didn't
as a
talk.
Peripheral neuropathy.
Yes, as a peripheral neuropathy. And
so if you're upset with us, take it up with Steve Reed, because he's now talking about it as a peripheral neuropathy.
Right, and Steve Reed knows that I had a meeting with Steve Reed at Rood and Riddle. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I am the person that
I can promise you we have better success rates on treating our Shivers horses than kissing spine surgery has on their horses.
Right. And we're not going to go into that today, but it's the fact that it is a mindset, you guys. People want to hold on to a hypothesis that is based on 5 numbers, like 5, a handful. That if you actually look at it, the normal horses also had changes. And so then which is only 3 other horses. So it's 8 horses total. It's the fact that, well, actually one of the people that presented at the seminar is a board certified, she does neurosurgery, and she's a board certified neurologist. And her horse had Shivers in all 4 legs. Mm-hmm. And this mare doesn't have Shivers anymore.
No.
And what she does have is she has a horrific shoulder girdle, costochondral junction, the whole area, big time problem that I personally think created all this. And
she talks about all the histopaths. She's like, that's non-specific findings. It's non-specific findings. But everybody gets bullied into this thought process that nobody takes a step back and goes, well, maybe let's try something different.
Right. But I have been contacted by veterinarians all over the world. And I try to help those veterinarians all over the world. But here's the thing, people. In January, right, Kate? In January, right here where I'm sitting, we are going to educate people on iliopsoas injuries in sport horses, and we are going to show people how to treat Shivers and string halt horses and make them understand, because I have tried to do the academic way, and I have tried to be very respectful and actually just say, here, it's yours. Take this thing and run with it. And nobody wants to, because of the politics and because of, as I call it, the caste system that's part of veterinary medicine, where nope, you stay in your place, Audrey, you stay right here where you belong, and we'll decide. Those people up here will decide. How dare you
question us?
Right. I went to vet school when I was 40, right? I've already done other things. I'm not a brainwashed type person in the first place. So I couldn't accept it. And also I'm a lineman. I mean, It has to be logical the way things work. So the fact that Kate's had amazing success doing it, I've had success. Chad Zubrod, that's at Oak Ridge Equine, who has his own draft horse hitch, who also does horses with shivers and string halt. And if anyone knows Chad Zubrod, he is a man of few words. But if I was just BSing all this, there is no way that he would have given me the time of day. Because he's kind of a, to most veterinarians, he's pretty intimidating. To me, I love Chad. He's funny. He's kind of gruff, and I love people like that. Also, Dr. Keith Brown up at Somerset, Pennsylvania, the same thing. We're trying to devise a surgical treatment for these horses that will work. And I mean, things are just coming along, and it goes back to
And the
mindset.
industry is really changing. I think that's
Hmm.
the most uplifting thing for me is 3 or so years ago when I first started this with you, it was a very different feel in the environment. It is definitely changing, and people are now way more open to change. They're wanting to see better. They're seeing some differences. Um, and I think people are getting braver to go, well, whatever. Like I see a lot of ECVM horses, which we're not going to talk about in depth today, but you I know what the papers say, and you and I respect Sue Dyson. I know what her last paper says. I've read all of them. I understand it. I have necropsied more ECVM horses than probably anybody in the United States. You are not telling me it's not a problem. Some
Right,
are more severe than others, and you might not be noticing some of the problems.
right.
But when I necropsy them and see massive nerve entrapments and muscle abnormalities and missing ribs and this and that, you can write any scientific paper you want. I'm telling you, it's a problem
Right.
on
And
some horses. Some
on
horses
some,
function okay, right? And we're not going to get into that, but I
right.
think people are finally need to be willing to stand up and go, yeah, I've read the paper. Your horse self mutilates when you girth it. ECVM is a problem. Period.
Yep.
Like it.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Is you and I both know so many of these horses are non-clinical because they don't
Yep.
have severe malformations and what you guys don't understand is if there's a cervical malformation or if there's a malformation anywhere in your body, like polio or anything else, your muscles, polio is a prime example, right? Your muscles do not either stretch or not develop the correct way. So all these attachments at the lower cervical, which is the largest moving area in the neck, okay?
It's
The
the
mu
junction of the whole
whole
body.
right, everything
Whole
connects there.
body.
Yeah, so if you have malformation there, significant malformation there, you have to understand that it affects the muscles, the nerves, and the vasculature there, which does biomechanically affect the horse. And so some horses that are minor, I've owned an ECVM horse. No big deal. It didn't affect the horse. It was very minor. But other horses, it does. And those are the horses that become very trippy or very behavioral or just same thing with kissing.
Explosive and dangerous.
Yeah, exactly.
It,
All these things, and we've all missed it, right, Kate? It goes back to what we've all
yeah,
missed, right? We all
absolutely.
miss things. But the truth is changing your mindset about, okay, I need to change because your patient is, I told you this the first time I met you. If the horses are not getting better, then the first thing I need to look at is myself, right? You have to look at yourself as a veterinarian and say, what am I missing? And we will always miss things. You miss things, I miss things, it's fine. But then you also see things that are in this mindset too. Like I think people like on hawk x-rays, right? They'll see this teeny weeny little thing and they'll go, there's your problem right there, that teeny weeny little spur. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, that does bother the horse. It can bother the horse, but it's many times not that teeny weeny
But
little
like
thing.
the rule of logic has to stay the same for everything. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, it does. There's a paper done that showed hawk X-rays are not very clinically correlated with soundness and hawk pain, but yet we all still take them, and they still will micro inch this little spur on a hawk. But yet you have kissing spine, and we recorded a video, so it'll be on our Patreon, where they have kissing spine. So we either cut off these or we cut the ligaments. If you look at the facets, they have spurs and the nerves are entrapped and they're gnarly. So I zoomed in on some of those pictures. I said, if that was the degree of arthritis in a hock, you would be told your horse will never be sound again and to never buy that horse. But
That's right.
instead, we didn't look at that piece. We looked up here and now we're shocked that it's no better. But like the same rule of logic has to stick everywhere. Some horses have kissing spines. They're not clinically important to the horse at all. Other horses have kissing spines and it's
And it's
crippling and it's a chronic source of pain
right,
for them. It is that way in everything
right.
in the body.
The neck, it doesn't matter, right? I mean,
Everything.
everything. And that's why I think is so interesting about kissing spine, which is I have always viewed kissing spine so differently than our profession. I mean, yes, it's a genetic thing, especially papers have come out of Europe saying, in thoroughbreds, certain thoroughbreds, it is a genetic thing. These young horses that have these huge cystic lesions and spinous processes touching, it's there. But the other thing is for horses that it is not genetic, I've always approached it like, what is pulling the spinous processes together? No veterinarian thinks like that. It's only because I'm a lineman. I think what muscles are pulling the dorsal spinous processes together and what's causing that muscle contraction to pull them together? Well, it sure in the heck isn't the spinous processes themselves. They're right. And
Or the
when you,
interspinous ligament. It's not
right. So,
that.
so you start cutting this stuff, and what you do is the problem is deep. It's not up there. It's down there at the foundation of where everything is. And if you treat down there, then this stuff opens up. And the real severe ones that are severely overlapping are really hooked. Like they actually, I mean, I've seen some gnarly, you know, all you do is try to manage those
And
horses
you,
because,
it's interesting because you think about it from a biomechanics of, and how's what's pulling and what's not. And I'm always like, what else is wrong? It's like,
right, the nerves,
it is
the
not
ribs.
just that. I have injected less backs since meeting you mid thoracic. Sorry,
Mhm.
mid thoracic. I inject backs every single day. Mid thoracics since meeting you than I had any other time in my life. I used to inject them all the time. Kissing spines, boop, 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 drop the needles down. It is a rare day that I am injecting a mid thoracic because if we fix the other sections, they all get better. And I
That's right.
it goes back to that. It's being willing to look at it with a different perspective and being willing to take a step back and go, okay, why can this horse function with it, but this one can't? What is their training like? What is the saddle like? What is the rest of their nutrition and program like? What they're way more complex. Same with ECVM. Why is it okay in this horse and not this horse, even though they have the same radiographs? Well, which programs are working and which are not? What changed? All these things. It has to be looked at as a multimodal problem because that's what it is.
Yeah.
And until you start doing that, you're not going to have the big change. But it was just so fun at the conference to see veterinarians feel empowered, feel not defeated anymore, that they can't fix these mysterious wandering lamenesses and that the rope horse can't cut cows to the left anymore. It only goes to the right because its left shoulder is this big. So like it can't go to the left. And it's so fun. And
I
I,
know.
I feel like horse owners on the other side need to feel hope because I think in 5 to 10 years, the industry will be drastically different and you will have access to somebody willing to help.
Well,
Really
that's our goal.
complicated, really hard horses, maybe not, right? That's the purpose of a referral. Injecting some of these horses isn't easy, even if you can see it. There are lots of
Yeah,
layers. You and I will always be there for those hard ones. A bulk of what I see, the average practitioner should be able to handle.
absolutely. And that's the thing is, right, here as we start teaching more and more and more, it's to put out more people and to help more horses because to me, I'm an athlete and a lineman. And as an athlete and a lineman, you have to practice every day. It's like being a lineman and you can't climb a pole, right? Like I don't know any journeyman lineman that can't climb a pole, right? So it goes back to the same thing. You got to teach the basic fundamentals so that people can understand the problem, and then you give them the kind of like guidelines of how to troubleshoot those problems. And then you give them the skills to be able to practice those problems. And it doesn't have to be so complicated. And it's just changing the way you approach a problem and think and going, I can do this. Like I literally can do this. Right, Kate? I mean, I there's a paradigm shift that's happening. And when I started, because of the Shivers horses, I could not handle the stupidity of our profession accepting that, and they still accept it. See, this is the scary part about this, right? All these years later, it's the fact it's that they accept this, and I feel horrible for Shivers horses. It's the one thing where you can get to me is if you have a Shivers horse, because I know how miserable these horses are, and this is a lower motor neuron, like this is a peripheral problem, and we have to be able to help more horses with head shaking syndrome. We need to teach people how to treat, like how to approach sleep deprived and collapsing horses. Head shaking, sleep deprived, collapsing, and shivers and string halt horses are like the worst, aren't they? But here's the other thing I'm going to tell you guys is if you have these horses that have shoulder girdle problems, uh, you can make them better. If your veterinarian can inject them, can shockwave them, and show you how to rehabilitate them and change the equipment, it makes life so much better. I just met today with the saddle fitter. She's from Canada, came here to my farm, and she is extremely knowledgeable. Her name's Rosa. I can't remember her last name. Anyways, she's extremely knowledgeable about saddles, and she's not adhered to one saddle maker or nothing. I mean, and that's how I am. I'm a true independent in every aspect of my life, where I look at you have to make things work no matter what the saddle is, no matter what the harness is, no matter what the equipment is. Sometimes you just have to make it work. And it's enabling people and giving more veterinarians training in these areas too. Because I think saddle fitting, you and I both agree, veterinarians really suck at it. And we
They
rely
know
on,
nothing about it.
yeah, I mean, I did
Nothing.
too. I did too, but I had to teach myself. I had to teach myself all this stuff and come up with all these protocols and all this. And it's just you have to want to change your mindset to where you feel like you can fix things too, right? Because people are frustrated.
Yeah, I think it's going to be such a fun swing because the more people we get trained, the more of you listening can be helped, the more you and I have time to train, teach, research. We're researching all next week. So
Yep.
for those that think we somehow haven't gone somewhere, we're researching with Sharon May Davis all next week. And we're, I mean, just moving on such a better path. And it's really exciting because I think in the next, my hope is like by the time I retire years down the road, we're gonna look back and be like, whoa, we have come a long way in the last 20, 30 some years. It's gonna be really exciting. And for those listening, keep listening, keep supporting, keep sharing the word because you and I are up against we have the momentum behind us, but it is tough. It's expensive to do research. It's time consuming to do research. We don't have vet students paying tuition, paying for everybody's salaries and all of these things. Like we are grinding it out because both of us and those that have joined alongside of us truly believe in the mission of the horse first. And we're taking it and running with it as much as we can. And so when people or your veterinarians debate you, well, where's the research? Well, we're here privately funding it, and we're here taking a week off work that you could be making money, I could be making money, and we're devoting to it for a week.
Yep.
And that's where it's at. And it's
I don't,
some moments are daunting and some are super exciting.
right. I mean, I don't think people realize how much time you and I put in doing all this stuff. And it's our own money, you guys. This is not
Yeah.
anyone else's money. This is our money. Kate just bought a new facility where Rexos, the research center, is going to be based out of. And it's by Carthage, North Carolina. And that's our goal is to have a training place and a research center and to put information out, not and the full history, like on so many of these horses, so that we can actually make an intellectual and logical decision on what we're seeing in many of these horses, but also
And
to
start
do,
pumping out case reports. We do
yeah,
so many necropsies, and I have all this data, but like where we can be doing those, there is no reason these horses should be dying without them contributing to science in some way. And so that is going to be a culmination effect. But like, we should not have horses dying from lameness that's undiagnosed, from behavioral conditions that are not going through a performance necropsy and getting
that's right.
cataloged, because then we can start going, that sleep deprived horse, oh, by the way, it had this, this, and this wrong with it. So that doesn't mean every sleep deprived horse does, but
Nope.
that can be added to your differential list, and we can start getting numbers and cases out. And so
Right. That's the goal, you
just,
guys. And here's the thing. As a person, all I do is see patterns. And all Kate and I were trying to do is confirm the patterns that I've kind of Kate's taken over to learn this. We've learned together, and she, from the time we first met, we worked together to figure out the patterns and find the common denominators. But without the research and without funding for the research, and it's a nonprofit, you guys, anyone listening that wants to give to Rexos, a nonprofit, you can have the tax deduction. It will help us not only build the facility, but no matter what, we are continuing to do this for regular veterinarians. Like, to me, the private practitioner is where my goal is, and the general practitioner, because as a general practitioner, you guys have got the highest level of skill to do things, right, Kate? General
absolutely.
practitioners have more skill than, I think, sometimes sport horse veterinarians, including myself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
They have
very
to
lim
problem solve way more. They have
Yep.
to adapt and change way more. They have a lot going on.
Yeah,
And
and they
I
got,
think
yeah.
if we can be teaching and pumping them out, it just, so we talked about this at your conference, but so people know, and if people are led to contribute to this cause, Audrey and I and both of our teams will continue to plug and chug away, but it will take a long time. Each horse we necropsy is a solid $1,200 to $1,500 worth of expense, not
Yeah.
including our time, not including the building it has to be done in. That is physical supplies, cost to get rid of the body. That is not Julie, our rehab director, that spends weeks cleaning, processing bones, cataloging it. And unfortunately, a lot of horses that get donated, this owner has now spent everything they have. They don't have the money to have one of these done, but the horse has something to share, and we can give that horse a voice, even if they didn't have one when they were alive, to continue and pass that along. And that is just so important to both of us. And no matter
Yeah.
what, we will continue to plug away. But if people want to join our cause, that's why we started the nonprofit. It is not to make you or I money on this. We lose tons of money
No,
doing it.
no, we're at
But
the
it is
deficit.
because it matters. It
Yeah,
matters. And when something matters, you have to take a stand. And when you take a stand, you have to be willing to jump off the cliff. And that's where we're at. And that's why we just bought a giant property that we're now building buildings and putting necropsy suites and all these things on. And I'm going to make it work one way or the other. And so
that's
will my
right.
team. But it is an awesome journey that those listening could help join us on. Or if anybody feels in that way, you can reach out to either one of us, because we genuinely want to change it to create better horse welfare. That is all that
Yep.
matters.
Yep. We are passionate. Well, as everybody always says, thank you for your passion, Audrey, right? I'm too much. And Kate's the same way. Like, we're very passionate about this because, we have to do what's right for the horse, and especially performance horses that are out there competing, and we don't want to see so many horses that are so behavioral. And I give credit to Sue Dyson with the ethogram stuff, right? Like, she really has
Trying.
changed things too with the ethograms. Kudos to Sue, but we're the same way. Sue Dyson is extremely passionate about changing things, and so are we. And any help will make a difference for people that can't afford this, and especially shivers and string halt, all these conditions that, we really need to learn from, not just the
Right. I
regular.
mean, literally, somebody was like, well, where's this research? I'm thinking, okay, well, it's $1,200 to take the horse apart, let alone the thousands of dollars we're now going to spend on histopath results and the countless hours that cataloging that and figuring it out. I'm thinking that's where it is. I mean, each
Yeah.
Shivers horse in our research that we're trying to go undergo, what do you think? It's probably $5,000 a horse,
Yeah. Well, I paid the last
right?
histopath bill, which was what,
Right.
$6,500, right? Like,
Yeah,
you guys got
it
to
is.
understand it. This is all out of our pockets. This
And
is
you and I are not from the land of grant writing or this and that. And we're
no.
busy seeing patients. I don't have time to look up those types of things and get it together. And we're here in both we and the community growing around us is committed to this. And so I can't wait to see. But everybody has to start being willing to think outside the box and ask a different type of question. We'll
Yeah,
get there.
and we have to change. I always say whoever controls the dialogue can make the difference. And I think for me, it's giving the empowerment of more people to control the dialogue and to help more patients. And I'm gonna tell you guys, the veterinarians, because every time we have a new seminar, I'm gonna state the veterinarians that you can go to that can help your horses in that area. Okay. So I'm going to run down the list right now. It's Dr. Erin, and these are the people that came to the seminar. Erin Trawick, it's Trawi Trawick Smith. She is in East Hayden, Connecticut. Okay. Dr. Smith in East Hayden, Connecticut. If anyone wants to know, just, send me a messenger thing. Kate has all the information too of these guys. Here's the next one, Dr. Marcy Nisus. She's actually in Ontario, Canada. She's in Whitefish, Ontario. Contact Dr. Nisus. She knows how to do all this. She's actually coming to the Iliopsoas seminar so that she can treat shivers and string halt and Iliopsoas injuries in horses. Dr. Heather Burkhart, she's in Parkton, North Carolina. She's in Kate's neck of the woods. Dr. Ellen Hillier, she's in Mechanicsville, Virginia. Look her up. It's River Equine. Dr. Brandy Ashman, also who Kate and I were talking about. She's at Hoofbeats Equine Services. Brandy also has a retirement facility for retired sport horses that's top notch. Dr. Madison Berger, she's from Ocala, Florida, here in Ocala. She is a great veterinarian also in the Ocala area that you can go see. Dr. Bethany Edler, she's from Pineville, Louisiana.
She's
Bethany,
awesome.
she's awesome. She is awesome. So
Yep.
anyone, Dr. Bethany Edler in Pineville, Louisiana, she is a young veterinarian that is a spitfire and no, I mean, she is good. So she's going to rock the world. And if you're in Alabama, Mississippi, or Louisiana, you go see Bethany. She has a clinic there. Dr. Becky Brake, she's in Houston, Texas. And then Kate, Dr. Beth Biles, she's in Tacoma, Washington. So all you guys that are on the West Coast, go see Dr. Biles. It's Kinetic Equine in Tacoma, Washington. And then Dr. Liz Fish. Liz is in Ocala, Florida during the wintertime, but she's in Pauling, New York. So anything in New York, the East Coast, Connecticut area, Dr. Fish is your person. Okay. And if you guys need the contacts for these, just email us or call us and ask or text message. Happy to give you guys more people out there across the country that can help more horses. And this is our goal. I mean, this is literally our goal, is to change the paradigm and mindset and the dialogue and the dialect of how we're doing this so that you as an owner and trainer, you're not frustrated like you are now, because it's frustrating. It's so frustrating to be out there, not be able to, you spend all this money and it's the same thing, you know? But anyways, as always, Kate, thank you. I gotta
We'll do
find my.
kissing spine another day. We changed our mind at the last second.
We just ad libbed, and I'm not gonna
I
do
love
the.
that we both had folders ready though.
I know,
Of
right?
all the papers we paid for.
I, Jeez, and that's another thing too. But anyways, I want to give a huge grateful thanks to Rebecca Shavlik and the Shavlik Family Foundation and all the people that supported me and the Shivers research. I want to thank Kate for always being here. We're going to continue this, you guys, and I'm going to interview other veterinarians too, so that you can understand it's not just Kate and I doing this, that it's other veterinarians too, and get their perspective on learning and everything. But most importantly, thanks to all my clients. I've learned so much from all your horses. So thanks for listening. More importantly, thanks to all the horses who have been my greatest teachers. Any feedback, let me know. Go to DeClueEquine.com. So goodbye, and let's start listening to the horses' stories so that they have a voice.